Submitted for the approval of the Midnight Game Society, I call this The Tale of Caladen's Crossing.
Alright everyone, this is the second part to Caladen's Crossing. Let's go through the victory conditions. So the heroes are up here on the bridge and they have to survive 8 turns or make sure that a lieutenant doesn't go through this entrance right here. And then the lieutenant and overlord's job is to get a lieutenant to exit this spot right here. There's a locked gate right here that can be attacked by the overlord minions and master minions, as well as the heroes are on a high ground, so they can move in and out of this locked gate, and if they're next to it, they can trace line of fire out of it, as well as they have this vantage point. As long as they're on a bridge, they can do some ranged attacks and abilities from up here, and then also when they are doing ranged attacks from here, other minions and figures do not block line of sight, so that's the goal for both sides. Alright, for the Overlord right here, their lieutenant is they actually get to pick one of Belthier, Splig, and Baron Zakareth during the reinforcement phase. They can do it on the 2nd, 4th, or 6th round. The Overlord is also able to have cave spiders that do a bunch of poison and webbing as well, and attack with blue and yellow melee dice. Moving along, they have goblin archers. They can move a bunch and have scampers so they can move past other heroes, and then they also have a ranged attack with blue and yellow dice. Next up, they have the Ettins, which are bigger creatures. They have reach and do a bunch of surging for extra damage, and they also have a melee attack with reach, and they are a large monster. They also get Barghests, which are like a medium-sized monster. They can do some howls to lower some fatigue, and they also have some surges for extra damage, and they attack in melee with blue and red dice. Last up, they have Mariods, which are a larger monster as well. They do a bunch of reach and immobilize, and then the master one can attack twice, and it attacks in melee with blue and red dice. The heroes first up have Shalara. She has 7 damage from the first encounter. She has Exploding Rune, Sunburst, Runic Knowledge, Mana Weave, Leather Armor, Iron Will, and Bright Blaze. Next up is Grisband. He has 2 damage taken from the first part. He has an Iron Battle Axe, Rage, Charge, and Brute right there. They also have Tatiana, who has 2 damage from the first part. She has Danger Sense, Nimble, Accurate, the Elm Greatbow, and then the Health Potion. Last up, they have a Sharon, who has 5 damage from the first part. She has Drain Spirits, Healing Rain, Stone Skin, Leather Armor, Iron Spear, Iron Shield, and still has a Stamina Potion. Alright, first up, Grisband's going to go. He's going to use his first action to search. So he grabs that, and then right here, he ends up getting a Fire Flask right here. Flip this card over to make a ranged attack with this item. And then if you use a Surge, you can make a Blast, which hits everyone next to it. So that's a pretty good one. Alright, it's going to go right over there. And his second action, he's just going to move 1 space right over here and stay on the bridge for now. They do have an ability to drop down, but there's no one to drop down and attack yet. Tatiana is going to go next. She's going to move with a move action 1, 2, 3. She is allowed to trace line of fire through here, so she'll stop her movement to attack this Ettin. She needs 1, 2, 3, 4 range, 3 because she has a special ability that increases it. She's going to use her Elm Greatbow, a blue and a yellow, against 2 gray dice. So let's see what she ends up getting. Has to drop in the castle. Right there, we got 2 hits and a surge. And then there's 2 defensive shields. She does get the range. She has 7, so more than enough range. She's going to use surge for 2 more damage, so 4 damage minus the 2. The Ettin goes ahead and takes 2 damage right here. And then she's going to continue her move. So she did 3, 4, and 5. So that's the end of her turn. Alright, Shalara is going to go first, but she'll have Bright Blaze, her familiar, go first before her. It's to go 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's going to go right there and give Pierce 1 to anyone next to, adjacent to Bright Blaze. And then Shalara is going to go 1, 2, 3, 4 right there. Or she has to actually spend a stamina to move an extra. So we're going to go ahead and add a stamina over here. And then she's going to attack this Ettin right here. She needs 1, 2, 3, 4 range. So she gets a yellow and a blue. She has a bunch of other things she gets to use. So let's see what she gets. Ettin gets 2 gray dice. So she does get the 4 range. She's trying to do 3 damage total. She's doing a 3 damage against 2. So 1. So she can use this right here. Get an extra surge with the Mana Weave to do 2 extra damage. So that will knock out the Ettin. Alright. And then she could suffer this, or she could have done this instead. Suffer a fatigue to do 2 more. And then, yeah, actually she'll do that. So she's going to suffer fatigue to do 2 more instead. So right there. So that will be doing 5 damage against the 2, so the Etten will be taken out. And then she's going to use the Mana Weave for an extra surge to be able to have it unspent and then recover 2 stamina. So did a little stamina juggle right there. And then we're going to remove the Etten right over here. He's taken out. And then Shalara's thinking about it real quick. She's going to spend 1 fatigue over here to go ahead and move back 1 space, so then the guards have a chance to move up. And then the guards will take their turn after any hero. This one, they get to move up to 4. 1, 2, 3, right there. I can think about it. They can go out of the gate, or they can stay safely here and shoot. They're actually going to protect the gate front because the Overlord, Lieutenant, and monsters can attack those spaces as long as they're empty. So it's going to go 4 and do a ranged attack. It needs to hit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 range to get to the Etten. It gets a yellow and a blue die. Yellow and a blue. So the important part is 6 range. It doesn't have any way to surge to get more. So it misses because it only got 4 range. All right, and then the next guard's going to go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Guard that other spot as well. Also needs the 6 range to attack the Etten. So let's see. Same dice. Yellow and blue against 2 gray. Needs to get 6 range though. It does not. It was a miss right there. All right. So that's the end of the guard's turn. All right. Sharon's going to go first. She's going to use Healing Rain, which costs 2 stamina. So let's go ahead and add the 2 right over here with that one right there. She gets to roll a red power die, and anyone within 3 spaces heals that much, which is 2, which is going to be everyone. So everyone gets to heal 2. So she goes down to 3. So let's go ahead and grab that. 1, 2, 3. Grisband gets to heal up. Shalara gets to heal 2. She still has 5 damage on her. And then Tatiana gets to fully heal. All right. And then Asheron's next turn is going to move 1, 2, 3, 4. Get up next to the gate. All right. That's the end of the hero's turn. At the beginning of the Overlord turn, a turn counter fatigue goes on there. Once it hits 8, they lose. And then they also get to draw an Overlord card. They end up getting Unholy Ritual right here. They're going to use it. They're going to choose a monster group. They're going to choose the Cave Spiders. So then they get to draw 5 cards, choose 2, and discard the rest. So let's see what we get. We end up drawing 2 Dark Might, a Tripwire, which we already have 1, a Dark Fortune, and Dash. We're going to grab Dash because movement, an extra surge of movement is always great. And then Dark Fortune is good for re-rolling like misses or other dice that you need to re-roll in an emergency. That does leave them with 1 last action. They'll get a movement 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's going to start going towards the entrance. This one's going to do that as well. 1, 2, 3, 4. These ones are going to probably end up trying to fight. 1, 2, 3, 4. They have to spread out because the Shalara has a blast attack. 1, 2, 3, 4. I guess they can't really help it. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, I guess they can kind of spread it out. 3 right there. All right, so that's the end of the Cave Spider's turn. All right, the Etten gets to go next. It's going to move 1, 2, 3, and then expand right here. It has reach, so it's going to attack this villager right here. He gets a red die and a blue die. The villager gets a gray die. They have 6 health, so let's see what it can do. Ends up getting 4 damage plus a surge. And then the guard got 0 defense. The surge here for another 3 damage for 7. So this guard right here is taken out. And then the Overlord's thinking about doing a dash move with the Etten to get it out of harm's way or to make it more troublesome for the ranged units to attack it. The Overlord's going to save the dash for now, so that's the end of the Overlord's first turn. All right, Grisband's going to go first. He's going to use the special ability to use a movement point from the bridge to jump right here. But then after he does that, he has to test a might test and an awareness test. For each one he fails, he loses 3 life. So let's see what happens. All right, the might test is first. He has to get 5 or less. He is good. And then his awareness, he has to get 1 or less. He fails that one, so he suffers 3 damage. So let's go ahead and give him 3 damage right over here. 1, 2, 3. And that is the first action of Grisband. Well, that was 1 movement point. He's going to use his second movement and third movement point to go to 3 right there. And then his second action is going to be to move closer to the spiders. He could use 1 fatigue to get close and then do a charge. So that's what he's going to use. He's going to use 1 fatigue right here to move 1 extra space. He's then going to spend 2 stamina or fatigue right over here. 1, 2 to do charge. And then within his first empty space, the Overlord's going to do tripwire. So he's now going to have to test awareness, and if he fails, he has to end his movement action. Oh, actually, it's kind of some weird wording. So this is play when on a hero when they enter an empty space during a movement action, and charge is just like a special action where you get to move up to your speed and then perform an attack with a melee weapon. So I think Rizman can still do it. All right, so we're going to go in and attack with the Iron Battle Axe. He gets a red die and a blue die against a gray die. He does get Pierce 1, and he's trying to do 5 damage total. So let's see what ends up happening. It's going to be the 3 damage against the 1 defense. So the Master Cave Spider receives 3 damage. It's not enough to do 5 damage. And that is going to be the end of Grisman's turn. All right, Shalara is going to take the next turn, but she'll have Bright Blaze move 4 first. 1, 2, 3. Kind of go under here. So Pierce 1 to all those spots right there. And then she's going to use 1 stamina over there to get an extra movement. So we're going to go right here. And then her first action is going to be using her Sunburst rune right here in the Etten. She gets to roll a yellow and a blue die. She needs to get 1, 2, 3 range, but she has Pierce 1. All right, she gets a yellow and a blue against 2 gray. So let's see what happens. And then she has a lot of stuff that she gets to use as well. So she got 4 damage right here. No surges. Etten got no defenses. We have to think about this real quick. The Overlord's going to play Dark Fortune to re-roll 1 of the defensive dice because no defenses is pretty rough. So we're going to go ahead and throw it down. Ends up getting 2. It's much better for the Overlord. 4 damage against 2. 2 damage is going through. Shalara is going to use Mana Weave to get a surge to do 2 extra damage right here with the Sunburst. So that's 6 against 2. So the Etten receives 4 damage right there. 1, 2, 3, 4. I guess 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. Shalara is going to use her second action to go ahead and attack the Etten again. She needs to do, I think, 4 damage to KO him. So let's see. Got dice dropping all over the place. But she does end up getting a miss. So that's the end of her turn. Sharon's going to go next. She's going to use 1 movement point to go here. And then she's going to attack the Etten with her Iron Spear. She gets to roll a blue and a yellow. She has reach, and it gets 2 gray defensive dice. I forgot earlier that there is Bright Blaze down over there, so there would have been Pierce 1 when the Overlord re-rolled 2 defensive dice, so it receives its 5 damage instead of 4. All right, she's attacking with the Iron Spear. See what she gets. She gets a lot, but then the Etten also has 4 defense. She has 3 damage here and a surge. So I guess the surge, well, she does have Pierce 1, so the Pierce 1 from Bright Blaze. So it's doing no damage, but she can add 1 more damage. I guess it doesn't matter what she surges. It does 1 damage total. All right, so the Etten takes 1 damage right there. He is still going. Then she's going to stay right there to protect the bridge spot. So not use any more movement points. That's the end of her turn. All right, this card right here is going to do a ranged attack on the Etten. It needs to get 2 range. It has a yellow and blue dice against 2 gray dice. All right, the only surge it has is to add 1 damage. So we have 3 defense from the Etten, and then the guard got enough range, 6, it just needed 2. 3 damage plus a surge for 1 more damage, so 1 damage goes through right over here. And then the guards cannot do 2 attack actions, so it's going to move. It's going to go just over to the other side for now. All right, that's the end of the guard turn. All right, Tatiana is going to go next. She's going to go 1, 2, 3. She'll have 2 movement if she wants after. She's going to make a range attack against the Etten. She needs 2 range, but 1 because of her special ability. She gets a yellow die and a blue die for her Elm Great Bow, and the Etten gets 2 gray dice. All right, let's see what she gets. Oh, she misses, and then she can only re-roll the power die right here. That's pretty rough for her. All right, so that's the end of her turn. At the beginning of the Overlord turn, we add a fatigue token to the timer so they get some reinforcements. But before we do that, they get to draw a card right here. They end up getting Word of Misery right here. So this is going to be a pretty good one to add a bunch of fatigue onto the heroes every time they suffer damage for a turn. All right, let's do the reinforcements. We will end up using actually Word of Misery this turn, so we're going to activate that right now. And now for the reinforcements. He's going to decide to place Goblin Archers, so let's go ahead and place them all in here. He's going to have the goal of them trying to leave the exit to lower the health of the gate. All right, that's the reinforcements. All right, let's do the Goblin Archer turn first. They're going to move 10 spaces each, so 2 things of 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This one's going to go 1, 2, wait, I'm sorry. So that was 5. Yeah, that ended up being 5. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 go in this corner, so it's a longer range from the vantage point. And then this one's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's going to go right there. This one's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I guess right there. This one's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, because the water stops them. And we got 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, so that's the end of the Goblin Archer turn. We're going to have the Etten go next. He's going to use Reach to attack Tatiana. So he gets a blue die and a red die, and then she gets a gray die. All right, let's see what it gets. Blue and a red. Oh, it ends up getting a miss, and we wasted our reroll earlier for more defense. So now he has to decide what to do next. His next action, he's going to try to decide to throw Tatiana. She has to test strength or might. If she fails, he's going to throw her 1, 2, 3 to this empty spot. So let's go ahead and roll that. So she has to get a 2 or less. She fails, so she is going to be thrown. She also receives 1 damage for that as well. So we're going to go ahead and grab a damage and put it onto her. All right, and then the Overlord is thinking about doing a dash with that Etten. Thought about it, only has 1 health left. It can go back a little bit, but then the rangians can still attack him. So he's just going to stay there and kind of hopefully take another attack or 2. But with only 1 health left, it might not happen. I also forgot to do the Word of Misery. Anytime a hero receives damage, Tatiana did from the throw, she also suffers of fatigue as well. There you go. Add that on. All right, the cave spiders are going to go next. The master spider is going to go first. It's going to make attack at Grisband. So it gets a blue die and a yellow die. And then Grisband gets the gray die. So let's see what happens. Ooh, ends up being another miss by the Overlord. All right, the second action is going to be to move. It's going to go 1, 2, 3 right there. All right, next cave spider is going to go 1, 2, 3, make an attack, and then finish off its movement. It's a yellow die and a blue die against the gray die. Just doesn't have as good of a surge. Oh, wow. Ended up being another miss. Brutal. All right, it's going to move right there. All right, this spider's going to go next. It's going to go 1, 2, 3, interrupt its movement to attack the gate. The gate always gets a 3 defense, so we're going to put that there. And then we're going to go ahead and roll the yellow and blue. It ends up having the gate 14 health for 4 players. All right, so we end up doing 3 damage and a surge right there. And then the surge is going to be used for an extra damage. So 1 damage is added to the gates. All right, and it's going to finish up its movement and just go... Actually, yeah, I can stay right there to block line of sight. That seems like a good idea. And then this cave spider is going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. And then it's going to also attack that empty gate space right there. So automatic 3 defense, and then a blue and a yellow die. Ends up missing. Ooh, a lot of bad luck. All right, and then this cave spider is going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, and then attack Tatiana. She gets a gray die. It gets a yellow and a blue. So let's go ahead and see what we get. Jeez, I am shuffling them as I'm rolling. All right, that's the end of the Overlord turn. All right, Shalara's going to take the first turn. She's going to keep Bright Blaze where he is. She's going to go 1, 2, 3 right here. And then that's her movement action. Her second action is going to use the vantage point from up on the bridge to do a exploding rune ability. So she can do a blast attack. She needs 1, 2, 3 range on this Goblin Archer. And then it's going to hit all of those. So let's see if she gets the range first. All right. Oh, I forgot to mention real quick. She has to spend a fatigue right there to do the exploding rune. And then yellow and a blue. See if she gets her range. She does get the range. Let's go ahead and before we roll the enemy defensive dice, use her abilities. Mana Weave Ring gets her a surge. And then with the surge, she could either do a stun or add 2 damage. I think she's going to add 2 damage. Yeah, let's go ahead and add 2 damage. Now we have to roll for the goblins one at a time. So the first one, let's do the target of the attack. It gets a gray die. So it has 2 health. So it ends up getting 1 defense. So that one gets knocked out. Let's go ahead and roll for this one next up top. 4 damage against 1. So it also goes down. So that one goes down. 4 damage against this one right here. Let's go ahead and drop that in. 4 minus 2 is still 2. And then we'll do the Master Goblin Archer last. That one has 4 health. So 4 against 1. It receives 3 damage. And that one is still alive. And then she does not want to use Bright Blaze because it's in a good spot. So that's the end of her turn. Sharon's going to take the next turn. She's going to use her Iron Spear to attack this minion spider. She needs to do 3 damage. She gets a yellow and blue die, and it gets a gray die. Let's see what she ends up getting. She does not have Pierce 1. Bright Blaze is not close enough. Right, ends up doing 3 damage to the spider, which is enough to take it out. So that one goes down. And then she's going to use her second action to attack this spider as well. So same deal. Yellow and a blue. She's trying to do 3 damage. She ends up doing 3 damage and a surge. The spider gets 1 defense. But she's going to use the surge to pierce. So then this other cave spider gets taken out. And that's the end of her turn. The guard's going to go after Sharon. It's going to move right here. And then it's going to attack the Etten. It needs 2 range with a yellow and a blue die. The Etten gets 2 gray dice. So let's go ahead and grab those. Let's see if the guard gets the 2 range. It does get the 2 range, but it's not even close to enough damage. So 3 damage against the 4 defense. All right, the guard's going to stay put. That's the end of the guard turn. All right, Tatiana's going to take the next turn. She's going to attack this Etten right here with a yellow and a blue with her Elm Great Bow. She doesn't need any range, so let's see what happens. Let's go ahead and roll this. She ends up getting, 2 hits and a surge against a defense. She just needs to do 1 damage, so she's going to do 4 damage against the 1. So yeah, that's 3 damage. The Etten is finally taken out right there. All right, and then her second action is going to be to attack this cave spider. The cave spider just gets 1 less gray die, so let's go ahead and roll that right now. She doesn't need any range because she's next to it, and she only needs to do 3 damage total. So she's doing 4 damage minus the 1, so 3 damage is going to go through, and then unused surge will get rid of a fatigue right here. It's the end of her turn. Next up is Grisban. He's going to use his Fire Flask over here to do a ranged attack on this Master Spider. So he needs to end up doing 2 damage, and then if he gets a surge, he gets to do Blast. So he gets to roll a yellow and a blue. All right, the Master Spider gets a gray, so let's see what ends up happening. He does need to range. He ends up missing. All right, so that's the end of that attack. He's going to use, let's think about it, he has to use a fatigue, I guess, to move 1 space right here. So let's go ahead and add a fatigue for that right there. And then his second action is going to be to attack the Master Spider with the Iron Battle Axe. He gets a red and a blue right there. Pierce 1 against the gray. So let's see, he's just trying to do 2 damage. He ends up doing 4 damage, and then with the Pierce 1, that's exactly, it's 4 damage total. So the Master Spider gets taken out. He could use his Heroic Feat to attack that one, but he's going to hold off for now. All right, at the beginning of the Overlord turn, we add a fatigue counter to the timer. Once it gets to 8, the heroes win. There's no reinforcements this phase, so it's going to be awkward, but they do get to draw a card. The Overlord ends up getting another dash, which will be good for later on. All right, and then they have to go with the Goblin Archers first. They're just going to try to escape. This one's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then it's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It does need 1 more move action to actually move off the map. And then this one's going to do the same thing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, so they just need 1 more movement point. I could use the dashes, but that would kind of be a waste. They're going to have to go out of their way to come over here. Like I think only Grisband or maybe Tatiana with like a really long range can get them. So they're probably going to escape. Each minion that escapes gets to add 3 damage to the gate. So that's going to add 6 more. All right. And then next up is the cave spider. We're going to think about what to do with that. All right. With the cave spider, it's just going to do a double move. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then 1, 2, 3, 4 right there as well. Or I guess like one more space away from the vantage point. All right, that's the end of the Overlord's turn. All right, so this is going to be kind of an awkward turn for the heroes, but they get time to get search tokens. So Grisband's going to go 1, 2, 3, and then his second action is going to be to get the search token. We end up getting a stamina potion right there. So that's really good for him. He's probably going to need that later on because he has full on stamina right there. That's the end of his turn. All right, Shalara is going to go next. She's going to do a ranged attack from the vantage point on the spider. 1, 2, 3. She gets attacked with her sunburst. She has to get 3 range. She has a yellow and a blue and a gray. So let's see if she gets the range. She does get the range. She's trying to do 3 damage total. So we got right here. It's going to be 4 damage with the surge. She doesn't even have to use it. That's going to be 3 damage total. And then with the unspent surge, she's going to recover 2 fatigue right here with Iron Will. So let's go ahead and get rid of the 2 fatigue. All right. And then she has to think about this spider is taken out. She has to think about her second action. All right. She thought about it for her second action. She's just going to rest to get rid of this last fatigue. And that is the end of her turn. All right. Tatiana is going to go next. She's going to go 1, 2, interrupt her movement to do a search action. Let's see what she ends up getting. She ends up getting a Cursed Owl. Flip this card over to discard any one condition from yourself or an adjacent hero. That's cool. They've never got this one before. So she's going to go ahead and add that. And then she's going to continue her movement to just go right here and then end her turn. And then Sharon's going to go. She's going to use her Healing Rain. So she rolls a red die and she's going to heal herself and Tatiana. So let's see how much she heals. It's based on the number of hearts. She ends up healing 2 from herself. So 2 from herself and then 2 from Tatiana. So they're full in life. All right. So her second action, she should have added 2 for that ability. And then I'll just add it just to do the motions. And then second action is rest. All right. That's the end of her turn. All right. At the beginning of the Overlord turn, we add another fatigue right here. This triggers reinforcements. And then also the Overlord's going to decide to add their lieutenant. It's going to be Baron Zakhareth with the Shadow Rune. So let's get the Myriad set up and then Baron as well. All right, we place the Myriads right here and the Baron right there. And then we also get to draw an Overlord card. Let's see, we end up getting Pit Trap, which is pretty good against Shalara or Grisband. All right. All right, the Goblin Archers are going to go first. This one's going to go 1, 2. It does have a plan. It's going to make a ranged attack on Grisband and it needs to get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It is possible it gets a blue and a yellow against his gray die. So the main thing that matters here is to get the 7 range. It does. Well, it doesn't at first. So right here we got 6 range. Surge, that had 7, 8. And then another surge for 2 damage, but 3 against 3. Unfortunately, got the range, but no damage. It's going to end up using its last 3 movement to go 1, 2, and then leave the area, which does 3 damage, which we're going to add on to the gates right there. It has 14 health. And then the next goblin can do something similar. 1, 2. Yeah, 1, 2. Let me think about that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so it can leave over there. Needs 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So same thing. It just can't really add range because it has Cowardly. Should have gone first. All right, so yeah, even if we could surge, it wouldn't matter. So we ended up getting 5 range. All right, it did move 2, 3, 4, 5, and then add 3 damage over to the gate. So the gate is getting whittled down. Once the gate's down, the Overlord can try to take the lieutenant and book it out of here to win. All right, the Overlord is going to have Baron Zakhareth go first. He's going to do a movement of 1, 2, 3, 4. He's then going to do a ranged attack with the Shadow Rune on Tatiana. He gets to roll a red and a blue die, and he needs 3 range normally, 1, 2, 3, but our ability makes it so he needs 4. All right, Tatiana gets a gray die, so he's just trying to get his 4 range. He unfortunately does not get his 4 range. He's going to think to see if there's anything else he can do. All right, unfortunately, he has no rerolls or anything. He's going to use a dash to get another movement just to kind of get out of the way. Let's actually think about this. We can go 1, 2, 3, 4, but then it's near Grisband. So it's just going to go back 1, 2, 3, 4. Just go back there to stay safe. That's the end of his turn. All right, the Myriads are going to go next. This one's going to use that spot to move. So it gets to go 1, 2, 3, and expand over here. Reach is not enough to attack Tatiana. It is going to use another of the dash cards to get right up over here. And then it's going to use its flail attack to attack these two, so the guard and Tatiana. Ashirin is going to use her special ability, Stone Skin, right here, to add a fatigue to allow the guard to get an extra gray defensive die. So let's go ahead and attack Tatiana first. It gets a red and a blue die. All right, it gets 1 attack roll against all of them. That is a lot of damage, which is pretty good. All right, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and a surge. Tatiana has 2 defense right there. The surge, we can do immobilize or 2 more damage. We're just going for raw damage here, so 2 more. So that's 7 against the 2. She takes 5 damage. Let's go ahead and add that over to her. It's a lot of damage. And then the guard is next. The guard did get I forgot to add the fatigue to Sharon for the stone skin. And then it's only once per round, so I have to exhaust that. All right, so that is still 7 damage against the 2 gray dice because the die roll is the same for multi-attacks. That is 3, so 7 minus 3. The guard takes 4. It does have 6 health, so it is still good. That is not what the Overlord wanted. 2, 3, 4. What's the best that it can do? And it has to think about the next Myriad's turn. I think the next Myriad's just going to get up close, so it's going to use both of its movements to go. Yeah, I guess Bright Blaze is going to get them no matter what. Block the line of sight as best as we can to Baron Zakareth. All right, that's the end of the Overlord turn. All right, Tatiana's going to go first for the heroes. She's going to do a range attack on the Master Myriad. She gets her Elm Great Bow with a blue die and a yellow die. She doesn't need to worry about range. Bright Blaze is there to give her a Pierce 1, and she gets a reroll. The Myriad does get a black defensive die, so let's see what happens. It has 7 health total. We don't think we can do 7 damage, but let's see. This is pretty good. Oh, this is like really good right here. We're not going to re-roll this with accurate. So that's going to be 4 damage plus 2. So that's 6 damage, Pierce 1. So 5 damage is going through right now. And then also the unspent surge could get rid of a fatigue, but she has used no stamina right now. So yeah, we're going to go ahead and place the 5 damage. That is super good. She's going to then go ahead and do the similar attack. She only needs to do 2 damage now. She ends up not getting as good of a number, right? So we have the 3 defense and then 2 damage plus surge for 2 more. So 4 against 3 is 1 damage. Unfortunately, that's not enough to take out the Myriad. The Master one has 7 health, but that's a pretty good start. That's the end of her turn. Sorry, I almost did the math wrong there. It was going to be enough damage because of the Pierce 1. So it was going to be the 4 damage against Pierce 1. So it's going to be 2 damage to go through. But the Overlord does have this up here. They've been saving it. They kind of wanted to save their threat to get an upgrade later on. But they're going to spend this, exhaust it. And now they get 2 more defense. So then no damage actually goes through. All right. So it was 4 against a 5. All right. It's still pretty good. That's the end of Tatiana's turn. The heroes choose Shalara to end up getting the heroic token right there. So she can reroll dice later or get rid of a fatigue. The guard is going to go next. It's going to attack right here through that corner. It needs 2 range. It just gets a yellow and a blue. It's really just trying to do 1 damage. So let's see. Black defensive die. There is Pierce 1 still. It got the range. It does have surge to add another damage. So that is going to be 5 damage against Pierce 1. So 5 against 1 is 4. This one is definitely taken out. It cannot take another attack action. It can move. It's going to think about it, but I think it wants to stay right there. It will end up using a movement to go to the other side. This will allow Shalara to come in and do damage if she needs to. All right, let's go ahead and move all of those and knock down the door. It's not actually getting knocked down. All right, that's the end of the guard's turn. All right, next up is Shalara. She's going to keep Bright Blaze over there. She's going to move 1, 2, 3, and then she's going to suffer fatigue to move one more. All right, so let's go ahead and add the fatigue over there. She's going to move one more with the suffered fatigue movement to go right here. And at that point, the Overlord is going to use a trap, a pit trap. She has to roll a awareness test and has to get 1 or less. If not, she will lose 1 movement point and 1 health. But if she has no more movement points to lose, she will get stunned. So this is pretty bad. So black and a gray, she has to get 1 or less. Oh, she's actually pretty good. The Overlord was not expecting that. So let's go ahead and continue on with her turn. And then her second action will be to do a range attack. 1, 2, 3, 4. So she has to get 4. She's using her Sunburst. So let's go ahead and set that up. All right, a blue and yellow against a black. She does have Pierce 1. It has 5 health total. Let's see what happens. All right, we got 3 damage so far going through against with Pierce 1 against 2. So she's going to use her Mana Weave Ring to add another Surge to add 2 more damage. So 5 against 2 is 3 damage goes through. Let's go ahead. And I believe that is the end of her turn. There we go. All right, Sharon's going to go next. She's going to do move action 1 to interrupt it to attack with her Iron Spear. She has reach. She also does get Pierce 1 because of Bright Blaze. Yellow and a blue against a black. All right, she got 4 damage plus Pierce, or sorry, plus Surge, 2 damage. So she is having 3 damage go through, which is enough to take it out. So she's going to use her extra unused Surge to get rid of a fatigue right there. And then the Myriad is taken out. All right, and then she's going to continue her movement and go back to guard the gate because the goal is for the lieutenant to escape all the way over here, and it needs to get through the gate first. All right, that's the end of Sharon's turn. All right, Grisband's going to go next. He gets to go 2 movement actions, 1, 2, 3. He's thinking about it. He could use his stamina potion to free up all his fatigue, and he can go 1, 2, 3, 4, which is what? Yeah, that's not enough to get up to do an attack. So he's going to hold off on that, and he's just going to do a second action, 1, 2, 3 right there. All right, so that's the end of the hero's turn. All right, at the beginning of the Overlord turn, the timer keeps on ticking down. They also get to draw a card right here. They end up getting Dark Fortune, which allows them to get a reroll, which would have been super helpful during all of those misses. All right, it's looking rough for the Overlord. They can't really go up there because if they lose the Lieutenant, they also lose in addition to 8 turns going by for over here. All right, so they're going to just do a range attack on Grisband 1, 2, 3 range with the Shadow Rune. They get a blue and a red. It's the blue and the red on Grisband's gray right here. We did get enough range and we got 2 surges, which is really good. I think these are the kind of the best rolls they can get. All right, so we're going to think about the surges. So we can draw Overlord card if we want. I don't know if that's going to do anything. We can add Pierce 2, which is only 1 more damage. We can do Subdue, which we probably will do. All right, let's go ahead. And the first one is Subdue. So as long as we do a damage to Grisband, it's going to be 3, 4, minus 1. So Grisband takes 3 damage. So let's go ahead and add the 3 damage to Grisband. Let's just give him, we can turn that into a 5 right here. Let's give him the stun condition, so waste an action for his next turn. All right, and then the other surge is to draw an Overlord card, just to see if there's anything we can do. We can't think of anything, but Dark Resilience, which is good for healing, so that actually is a good potential option to heal the Baron. All right, and then we're going to move 4. Kind of stinks to go backwards, but we kind of have to. 1, 2. We're just going to go 2. Just so like the range characters really have to, actually let's go 3 right here. The range characters will really have to come out if they want to get rid of the Baron, but they also can stall there if they want as well. So it's kind of like a lose-lose for him. All right, that's the end of his turn. All right, at the beginning of the hero turn, Grisband right here, he's stunned, so he has to get rid of an action to get rid of the stun. And then he's going to move 3 spaces. So he's going to move 1 right there, 2, and then 3. It's getting pretty close to the Baron Zakhareth, but yeah, that's the end of his turn. Shalara's next. She's just going to move Bright Blaze right here just to have more range with the 4 movement of Bright Blaze. And then her second action will be to rest, which only gets rid of 1 fatigue, but she has nothing else useful to do. All right, so that's the end of her turn. All right, Tatiana's going to go next, but I don't think she has anything to do at all. She could try to go in there and attack. It could be like a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, use a bunch of fatigue to go around to make a shot, but she doesn't need to. They are allowed to stall at this gate. So she has no fatigue to get rid of, so she doesn't even need the rest, so that's the end of her turn. All right, last up is the Sharon. The guard's also just going to stay put for its turn. She's going to use Healing Rain right there, so it's 2 fatigue, and then everyone within 3 spaces of her will heal based on a red die roll. So let's see what we end up getting. So 2 health. So let's start with the guard. The guard receives 2 healing. We have Grisband's not close enough. She heals herself. Tatiana goes from 5 down to 3. So we're going to go ahead and add that. Then Shalara also goes from 5 down to 3. And that is the end of the hero's turn. All right, at the beginning of the Overlord's turn, we get a fatigue. So this is the 6th round. They have a couple more turns until they lose, but they do get reinforcements. The bar guests are going to go here, here. Let's see, Chris Ben's in the way here, and then here as well. So finally, the Overlord has some stuff to work with, and then they get to draw a card. This is Dark Charm. This is really cool. They're going to use it, and then they're going to think about real quick who to use this on. We are going to have Tatiana. Sorry, we're going to use Dark Charm on Tatiana. She has to test willpower. So let's see what happens. Depending on if it's a fail or a pass, she has 2 willpower. Something will happen with Dark Charm. She has to get 2 or less. She does not fail, or she does not pass the test. She fails, so the Overlord can move or attack with her. She's going to take a shot at Shalara right there. She gets her Elm Grey Bow. I believe they get to use the Accurate ability as well, so they can reroll. She is attacking Shalara, who actually gets I believe it's a gray and a brown die because she has the leather armor. So let's go ahead and see what happens. Blue and a yellow. Range is not needed. We end up doing an okay amount of damage. So we have 2 surges. We're going to reroll this, actually. All right, there you go. An extra damage. Shalara did get 3 defense. We are going to use the surge for +2 damage. So 4 against 3. It's only 1 damage on Shalara. So we're going to go ahead and put that on Shalara right there. So that's the end of the Dark Charm. All right, the Overlord's going to have the Barghast go next. They're going to try to just get through the gate as much as possible. Unfortunately, they don't have enough movement. So the Master one's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, and then kind of expand over here. And second action is to do a Howl. They all have to test willpower. If they fail, they suffer fatigue. It's anyone within 3 for the Howl. So let's start with Tatiana. She needs to get a 2 or less. She passes. And then we're going to go on to Shalara. Needs 3 for willpower. She fails. So she's going to get a fatigue. So let's go ahead and give her that. And then we have a Sharon who also needs to get a 3. She ended up passing. All right, that's the end of the Master Barghast. All right, we're going to do the next thing with this one. Howl, 1, 2, 3, 4. Move first. Howl first on Tatiana. She needs to get a 2 or less. She fails. So Tatiana gets a fatigue over here. Let's go ahead and do that. Shalara gets to go next. Shalara has to get a 3 or less. She's good. And then a Sharon willpower 3 or less test. She's also good. All right. And then this Barghast is going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. Expand over here. 1, 2, 3. Same deal. Another Howl right there in Tatiana. 3 or less. These are all willpower tests. She fails. So Tatiana gets a fatigue over here. All right. And then next up is Shalara. 3 or less. She fails as well. She also has to get a fatigue. And then we have a Sharon last. A Sharon fails as well. So she also gets a fatigue. All right. And then this particular last Barghast is going to take an attack with a red and blue die on Grisband, who gets a gray. So let's grab the red and blue right here. Let's see. It just can do damage right here. Already, you can see the Howl ability that I've been using. All right, so we end up doing 1, 2, 3 damage plus a surge, which will add 1 more, so 4 damage to Grisband. right there. So he receives 10 health out of, I believe he has 18 total. All right, and then the second action is for the Barghest to move. Think about it. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's kind of expand right here. All right, that's the end of the Barghest turn. All right, the Baron can't really afford an action to attack, so he's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, and then probably 1, 2, 3, 4 right there. It's pretty rough. Actually, it's going to end up going behind these right here, just because you can actually shoot through corners like that and stuff. So that's the end of the Overlord's turn. All right, Shalara is going to take the first turn. Bright Blaze is right here, so she'll keep it right there. She's going to do a blast attack, exploding rune ability on that one. So it's going to hit these three Barghest right there. So let's go ahead and add the stamina to her pile right there. She gets to roll a yellow and a blue. She does need 1, 2, 3 range. Yellow and a blue. We'll do the master minion first. It gets an extra brown die because it's not a melee attack. So let's go ahead and see that. All right, so that one has 3. There is Pierce 1, so 2 damage is going through. We have 4 damage and a surge. We're going to use the Mana Weave ring to get another surge. So the first surge is going to be to add 2 damage, and then the second surge is going to be Suffer Fatigue to add 2 more damage. So this is a 6 damage attack overall. So let's go ahead and add that fatigue over here. So 6 damage. And then the master one got 3 minus 2, so 2 defense. So 4 damage goes through. 1, 2, 3, 4. The masters have 6 health, and then the regular minions have 4. Let's go ahead and roll the defensive gray die for the one right above it. Remember, 6 damage is going through with the Pierce 1. All right, so that Barghest is taken out right there. And then we're going to roll for the defensive die, 6 damage and Pierce 1. Ooh, that was pretty good. So Pierce 1 makes it down to 2. So 6, unfortunately, minus 2 is still 4. So I think no matter what, they were going to be taken out. All right, so that's the end of Shalara's first action. Her second action is to use her Sunburst to attack this Master Barghest. She gets a yellow and a blue. She does need 3 range. The Barghest gets a brown and a gray die. So she needs to end up doing 2 damage. So I think this is going to end up doing it. So 4 minus the 2. So 2 damage will go through. And then she's going to use this Unspent Surge to recover 2 stamina instead of 1 because she has Iron Will, which is pretty good. All right, so that's pretty good. She's been doing really well as a mage with all of her upgrades recently. All right, and then that takes out the Master Barghest. And that is the end of Shalara's turn. All right, next up is the Guard Archer. It's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. And it's going to do a ranged attack on the Baron right there. It gets a yellow and a blue die. The Baron gets a black die right there. Let me double check. Yep. And then she gets Pierce 1 because of Bright Blaze. Where did I put it? Right over here. All right, she needs, or the guard needs 2 range. Let's see what happens. Got the range, 4 damage minus 3, but with Pierce 1, 2. So 4 minus 2 is 2 damage, goes on to the Baron. And that is the end of the guard's turn. All right, next up is going to be Grisban. He's going to use his stamina potion to get rid of all his fatigue. So he is full up to 4. He's going to use his first movement action to go 1. And then after 1, the Overlord's going to use Tripwire. He has to test awareness. He has to get a 1 or less, or else he ends his movement action. He fails, so that does end his movement action. But then he's going to use 1 fatigue to move for 1. All right, let's go ahead and add that. So his second action is going to be to attack. He's going to use, let's use Rage right here. That seems pretty good. So let's add the 1 fatigue for Rage. So he gets 1 extra damage. He has 1 pierce with the Iron Battle Axe, 1 pierce with Bright Blaze, red and a blue against a black. Let's see. All right. That's a lot of damage going through. All right, we got 1 surge and 4 damage. So 4 surge, 5, 6, and then he has pierce 2. 7 because of rage. So 7 on a 1 is 6 damage goes through. It's a lot of damage. And then he's going to use his heroic feat right here. He gets another attack. action, right? That's going to flip over. And he's going to do the same thing without rage. I don't know if you can actually use an attack action with a special action that causes an attack. I'm going to just read the rules as I read them, and I assume no. All right, so a blue and a red with Pierce 2, still with Bright Blaze. That's super good. So 4 damage going through, and that's pierced, so 4 damage. All right, so the Baron Zakareth has received 12 damage, and then he has a total of 16, so he is almost taken out. That's the end of Grisben's turn. All right, so the heroes are going to get a little greedy here. They do believe Tatiana can take out the Baron, so Ashirin's going to first off use a stamina potion to recover all of her stamina. They're just going to try to collect this other little search token. So she gets to move 1, 2, 3, 4. And then on the bridge, her 5th movement is going to be to jump down here. She has to test might and awareness to see how much damage she receives. Each test she fails, she receives 3. All right, so the first thing is might. She has to get 2 or less. She ends up passing that one. And then she also has to test for awareness. She has to get 4 or less. She fails that one, so she receives 3 damage, which is not a big deal. 1, 2, 3. And then she still has 1 action left, but she's going to use fatigue, 2 fatigue to move over here. So let's go ahead and add the fatigue to her. And then her second action is to search. Hopefully she gets something good. She gets another health potion. This is going to be more gold. Like I said, it was a little bit greedy, but they think they can take out the Baron this turn. All right, that's the end of Ashirin's turn. All right, Tatiana is going to use her first action, 1, 2, 3, 4, to attack the Baron. She gets a yellow die and a blue die with her Elm Great Bow. Bright Blaze gives a Pierce 1, and she has Accurate for a reroll if she needs be. So let's see if she gets the range. Well, she needs 3 range because of her special ability. She gets a yellow and a blue, and then Baron gets a black die. I think she's just trying to do 4 damage, and then they win this scenario. I think she just got it right there. Yeah. We go ahead and it's going to be 4 damage against nothing. So that takes out the Baron. And the heroes win Caladen's Crossing Encounter Part 2. Well, this includes Part 1 and Part 2. They now won this particular quest. All right, here are the rewards. Win or lose, each player gets experience. All right, so everyone gets experience. The heroes won, so they receive 25 gold per hero. The Overlord did not win, so the next line doesn't matter. Baron Zakareth did not move off through the town entrance, so that doesn't matter. And regardless of the winner, the Lieutenant Overlord chose who they chose is returned to the game box. When a quest lists this Lieutenant under the monster section, the Lieutenant is not placed, so there's no more Baron Zakareth. All right, this is where the experience is at. Tatiana has 2, Shalara has 1, Ashirin has 2, Grisben has 1. The heroes got to 350 gold. The Overlord has 2 experience and 3 threat. So we're first going to do the shopping phase. All right, let's see our options. We have an Immolation Magic Rune, 2-handed, blue-red, so slightly less range with blue and red, but more damage. Pierce 1, Surge for damage, Surge for range. This might be okay. We have been good with Sunburst. All right, next up is Lucky Charm. This is going to be an accessory, a trinket right there. Exhaust this card to reroll an attribute test. You must keep the new results. This is going to be really good. I probably already know who we're going to grab that on, but we have to count up all the gold and see everything first. We have Scorpion Helm. Your ranged attacks get +1 range. It's pretty good because it's an accessory, but you can only have 1 helmet at a time. We'll actually see who we equip that to because Tatiana usually is good in range. Maybe that is good for Shalara's ranged attacks. We also have a light hammer right here, 1-handed, yellow and blue, which is slightly less damage but more surges, and then surge can add 2 damage and stun. This is okay. We've been good with the Ashirin's Iron Spear. We do like the Pierce, but like stun's pretty good. It feels like they're almost the same. They're both 1-handed, but we'll see. And then last up is a Magic Staff. It's Magic Staff, blue-red, so more damage but slightly less range. It is 2-handed. It has a surge to deal 1 damage to another monster within 3 spaces of the target, which is pretty good. It doesn't talk about line of sight, so that's pretty good to do a little bit of extra damage and then surge for another range. So let me think about what we're going to purchase, then we'll go through it. All right, we're going to end up with Lucky Charm on Grisben right here. This allows him to redo an attribute test. This is going to be potentially good against those traps that the Overlord always does in Grisben to mess up his movement. He still might fail the new test, but this gives him a chance each turn because exhausted cards come back at the beginning of the hero's turn. So that's good. And then the Scorpion Helm, which gives additional range. We'll give this Shalara so she doesn't miss her big blast attacks. I don't think it's ever happened yet, but she wants to make sure that the range part doesn't miss because those attacks have been really powerful. All right, that's the end of shopping. Tatiana is going to spend her 2 experience on First Strike. During the Overlord's turn, immediately after they choose a monster to activate, you may exhaust this card, spend 2 fatigue to target that monster with a bow and attack it, and they get to continue their turn if they're not defeated. That's going to be pretty good to get some free attack. She's been mostly full in fatigue. She hasn't used Dangerous Sense. She just wants to keep attacking. She has accurate, so she gets to reroll her die, the power die, so this is really good. We are going to spend a Sharon's 2 experience to get Cloud of Mist. It's going to be 1 fatigue to use. Exhaust this card. While this card is exhausted, each attack that targets a space within 3 spaces of you misses, unless the attacker spends surges. This is going to be really good to have a Sharon go last, do all of her stuff, and then exhaust this to create a little cloud. It's going to be really painful for the Overlord. All right, the Overlord's going to spend their threat on the unkillable plot right here. They can exhaust this when a master monster is defeated, replace the master monster with a minion one from the same group, and then that costs 2 threats. So this is just a way to get like more health out there, more minions, really good for large monsters. And then we have Word of Despair. We finally have 2 level 1 plot 1 Magus cards, Overlord cards. So now they're allowed to get a level 2. It does cost 2 experience. Play this card at the beginning of the turn. Each hero has to test willpower, and each one who fails suffers 1 fatigue each time they perform an action. And if they don't have enough fatigue to suffer, they just start taking damage. So this is going to really drain a lot of the heroes. They have like a decent willpower stat, but this is definitely going to hit that a couple of them when it goes off. All right, so that's everything for Caladen's Crossing Encounter 2.
Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Good night.